Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, my 28 amazing subscribers. This is Daniel at the Krakens Lair Comics. I almost said Clacken. Click Clacken at the Krakens Lair Comics. If I went to a comic book convention and I took a poll of, say, 50, 100 comic book fans, and I asked them, who is your favorite character? Some might say the Hulk, or for this issue, Rocket Raccoon. Some might say, I love the X-Men. Many people would say, I love Spider-Man. And I love all the heroes. I love Marvel heroes. I'm not a huge fan of DC, but I do like some DC heroes. They're fun. I like The Flash. I like Wonder Woman. But today's focus on something different. Today's video is going to focus on Marvel monsters. So I thought that was a good issue to start it off with. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. In the earliest years of Marvel, before they were, as they were developing their superhero genre of Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, the Mighty Thor, Iron Man, they did a lot of really fun, cool stuff with monsters. And they continued this through the 70s. Often they were just revamping or, reprinting, rather, earlier stories in the earliest part of Marvel's history. Some of it was properties that they acquired from, Atlas Comics. But that's the focus of today's video. I don't see many of these very often on comic book channels. Some of these in high grade, because they're so old, can have value. In my personal opinion, they're really fun reads. So if somebody asks me who's some of your favorite Marvel characters, I might say this. Tales to Astonish, number 17, Van Doom, He Who Made a Creature. Very cool cover. I acquired this recently. The purpose of this is really to show a bunch of Marvel monster and horror comics, not so much to go into about, condition, grades, prices I paid. Some were, more expensive than others. Not talking, $1,000 or $500. I think every single one of these, for sure, I got under $100. Most of them far less than that. Because a lot of people don't collect this niche section of Marvel. I love them. I've said in a lot of videos, I love monsters. I grew up with the black and white Universal Studio monsters, The Creature of the Black Lagoon, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, Bela Lugosi's Dracula. I've always liked monsters. So you'll note that this comic, Tales to Astonish, goes on to feature Ant-Man in later issues. Here's an early Strange Tales. Strange Tales number 79, The Thing Is Here. I love this cover. Once again, it's old. There's some issues. There's tape and stuff. I'm not, like I said, going to get into that too much. Strange Tales goes on to eventually feature Doctor Strange. Journey into Mystery, number 71. Heaven help me. I brought the Rock to life. Love this cover, like with the giant bird monster breaking out of his eggshell. Actually got a deal off that $75 price tag. But we all know that Journey into Mystery, after issue 71, at issue 83, starts The Mighty Thor and continues until Journey into Mystery is no more and it just becomes the mighty Thor. The issue before this, Journey into Mystery number 70, The Sandman Cometh. People want to say that's like a prototype for the Sandman villain. I don't really think there's any kind of correlation between the Spider-Man Sandman character and this one. If you read this story, just because it says like the Sandman, I've seen the same thing. There's a monster that they call the Hulk long before there was, the green-eyed, ever-loving Hulk that we all are familiar with. And so, like, oh, it's a prototype for the Hulk. It's like, no, it's not. They just, the name. Now, maybe, Stan Lee and the artists and the writers, they might have remembered that name and liked that name and said, like, yeah, let's, like, do the Hulk. Now I'm going to show some where it's the original and later Marvel reprints. This is kind of fun because there's differences in the artwork. So here's another Tales to Astonish, number 20. I was hunted by X, the thing that lived. So fun. This story got revisited along with other early Marvel monsters in this issue number 2 of Fear. Now there's multiple stories, like that's the Blip. I think that's like Goomba or something like that. But I like comparing where you can see not only like where they changed colors, sometimes they added like, a change of artwork, but even just seeing how the color change, it changes the dynamics of the cover. So this is kind of fun for me. We're going to keep going. I have a lot of Marvel Monster stuff. I could probably do videos just on like different titles of like, I have all the issues of the Fear. I have all the issues of like the things we're going to see later on, Chamber of Darkness and things like that. But here's another one. So here's the Tales to Astonish. I don't know the number offhand because you can see the corner is ripped out. But this is the Gorgilla. So in Monsters on the Prowl, number 9, there we see it. The same cover. The Gorgilla. Once again, they changed some of the colors. They changed some of the artwork a little bit. Fun stuff. Fun reads. Now, Gorgilla, I guess they really like that because they kept mining that character. So here in Where Creatures Roam, as Gorgilla again. Now they totally changed the artwork. Totally, like, he's not this brown Sasquatch looking guy. He almost looks like the Yeti, the abominable snowman. Interesting. Once again, you can see there's other monsters that feature within this title. Just say, like I referenced earlier, other than very high condition, a lot of these don't hold a lot of value, but they're really fun reads, and it features those early artists, Kirby and Ditko and Stan Lee stories, and it's really kind of fun stuff. I love it. That's why I collect them. Now here's another title, Tower of Shadows. Titano, the monster that time forgot, or the biggest lobster dinner you could ever imagine. Now, I got this recently, and this is like really chewed up, but a lot of my motivation for collecting older comics is to protect them, to preserve them, to pass them on to like later generations. I paid $20 for this. I probably got ripped off for my $20 because this is like really chewed up. It is really chewed up. Hey, I don't even want to take this out of the bag because it's so chipping so badly and stuff that who knows, what would happen. But once again, I do like seeing the comparison of the artwork side by side. Like here you see they're on top of a building, and here they're down on the dock. So for the $20, I joke where I say I felt ripped off. I kind of like that. I kind of think that's kind of cool. Okay. I've shown this once before on my video of obscure comics in my collection. Another Tales to Astonish. This one is number 11. Monstrum, the Dweller of the Black Swamp. That in Fear number 1, they put this in. Once again, there's a lot of difference in not only the color of the monster, but the size as he appears on the cover. They changed other elements of the artwork, which, like I said, I find it kind of like fascinating, like just to have these side by side where you can see the differences. This one I bought at the MegaCon in Florida for $20. The guy wanted $25. I pointed out this little bit of the corner, off. So he was like, okay, $20. And for me, like $20, Tales to Astonish number 11. It's got a color breaking crease there. It's really old. For $20, I'm just to read it, I would have spent the $20 for that alone. But I own it. And these older books, they're not getting any younger. So even in poor condition, I am sure at some point, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I will be able to sell this to another collector that digs this early part of, Marvel history and Marvel monsters. And I'm sure I will get my $20 back. Now, I showed Fear number 1. I just you just don't see this stuff on most comic book channels. I mean, this is actually like really cherry. Fear number 8. Love this. Like this, I don't know, like tree monster coming through the window. It crawls by night. Very fun. Fear number 9. Dude fighting this like crazy octopus. Most of these, like I said, I got like just a couple bucks a piece. And you can tell by the 20-cent price tag, like these are all like early 70s stuff. Kind of cool. Now, I thought this was fun. The Incredible Hulk King Size Annual number 5. They bring all of these crazy Marvel monsters back. Oh, everybody knows Groot now. The monster of Planet X. You guys know him now. Spoiler alert, in this issue, Hulk takes 2 big chunks of rock and reduces Groot to a smoldering wood stump. True story, Marvelites. There's Titan. There's Goom. There's Taboo the Terrible. Another monster from, that's like, it's always like Dimension X and Planet X and stuff. Monster from Dimension X. And the electrifying Blip. I love the Blip. So I pulled these monsters. Okay, so we got like Groot, right? There we go. There's the Monsters Dwell reprint of the first appearance of Tales to Astonish. Don't know the number offhand. Comic book people, chime in. When the Guardians of the Galaxy movie happened, and when nobody who gave two about Groot all of a sudden cared, that first, Tales to Astonish appearance of Groot skyrocketed to the moon. I actually have 3 other copies of this, all of which I paid less than $10 for. Usually I was like buying lots. Oh, Monster Dwell lot, Marvel Monster lots. And I ended up with like multiple copies of this. And I ended up doing very, very well selling some of those, because when people couldn't afford to dump $1,500 on the first, Tales to Astonish, this was the next best thing. This Monsters Dwell number 6. Who knew? Now, I'll go off on a little Groot tangent here. Like, look, he talks. Behold, I am Groot, the Invincible. Who dares to defy me? I defy you, Groot. So I got so annoyed about the Guardians of the Galaxy where they turned him into this like doe-eyed plush toy, like, I am Groot. I am Groot. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing, Disney. You're trying to sell a bunch of like plush toys to like girls under the age of 13. No, he is the freaking monster from Planet X. Look, he's destroying shit. Excuse me, destroying stuff. He's got his roots going everywhere. He's crushing stuff. He's talking. He's a monster. A monster, people. He's not a plush toy. He's not like, I am Groot. I am Groot. You know, let me like dance my flower pot to some freaking 70s song. That's my soapbox about Groot. Other monsters shown in that Hulk issue is the Titan. Monsters on the prowl. A Titan walks the land. Very cool. And once again, these creatures roam, monsters prowl. They reprint earlier, Tales to Astonish, Strange Tales, things like that, where I could not afford the originals and where I have not come across them. To me, this was the next best thing. So I have like nearly complete runs of like Monsters on the Prowl. I have all the issues of Fear, Monsters Dwell. Here was 2 more villains in that Hulk giant size. There he is. Mankind is doomed. Taboo lives again. Monsters Dwell number 6. The last one I have of those monsters fighting the Hulk. Here's Diablo. Here's the demon from the 5th dimension. Not the X dimension or Planet X. So they branched out there. I thought this was kind of fun. Creatures Roam, number 7. In these fantastic pages, you will meet the Glop. Not the most clever name there for something that looks like, a giant puddle of mud. The Glop. But, hey man, the Glop was not over. Because they changed his name to the Glob. Hulk 121. Within the swamp there stirs the Glob. They brought Glob back again. Giant size man thing, number 1. Is back from the dead. The Glob strikes again. Here was another title, Fantasy Masterpieces. This is number 1. So it has different stories from, once again, these earlier Marvel monster stuff. And you can see, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Joey Sinnott, Dick Ayers, Don Heck. And so, these are real cheap, inexpensive ways that you can see that artwork and you can see the development of their style. And sometimes you can see where later villains, some that are much more famous and popular than the Glob, you can see where they were fleshing out ideas that they used later on. Now, this I'm just going to run through. These are a bunch of number 1 issues. Once again, early Marvel Comics. Monsters Dwell number 1. I love this entire run. I'll probably do a video one day just showing the entire run. Tower of Shadows. Love that cover. Very cool. So I just included this one, Tower of Shadows number 2. Look, I spent $1 for it. Moving, let's stay at this time frame. Because these are all 15-cent issues. Chamber of Darkness, number 1. Tales of Maddening Magic. Chamber of Darkness, number 2. Enter the Red Death. I just love these covers. Number 1, Where Creatures Roam. Also a fun issue. Moving into the early 70s, Supernatural Thrillers #1, featuring It. Was a real famous sort of sci-fi story here. Vault of Evil #1. This is a Plug cover. Love this. The Monster of Frankenstein #1. They rebooted the name of the book, Journey into Mystery, because at this point, the Thor comic had adopted or taken over the mantle of the Journey into Mystery. So they started again in the 70s with Journey into Mystery, once again featuring, monsters. You got like that. Dig me no grave. Okay, please don't. Love this cover. Worlds Unknown, The Coming of the Martians. I can't wait to see what those space jockeys brought back from Mars. Pipe yourselves aboard, lads. Tales of Lurking Fear. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, they're about to get real surprised by this guy. Uncanny Tales #1. Crypt of Shadows #1. Weird Wonder Tales, fright-filled first issue #1. Like this. Here's the plug. Plus, The Eye of Doom, Revolt of the Robots, and more. Yeah, I want more. Look at this guy. It's the end of the world. Probably not. Dead of Night #1. Pretty cool, pretty scary, pretty creepy. I like it. My stacks get a little bit. Now, Dead of Night, which I just showed, the Dead of Night #1, as this went on, they introduced this character. Dead of Night featuring the Scarecrow on #11. I really want to upgrade this. Once again, it's not super valuable, but I really like the cover. It's very dynamic. It's very cool. I like it. Giant Size Chillers #1. Now this one's it's not the frightful first issue. It's the frightful, fearful first issue. I guess they alliteration on the word F. Frightful, fearful, featuring fantastic females fleeing from... Sorry, tapped out there. I couldn't think of any F words to describe this guy. And I'm going to leave it with this one. We all saw the Morbius trailer before the current situation happened. I'm really looking forward to the release of that movie. Boom, boom. The Legion of Monsters. First appearance of Legion of Monsters. Marvel premiere #28. So you've got, Man-Thing, Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider, Morbius. How can you not like that? Once again, for new collectors out there, you'll note that I showed tons of #1 issues. They're out there. They're very affordable. If you look for lots of Dead of Night, Chamber of Chills, Tower of Shadows, they're not super expensive, but once again, you can get a whole lot of quality reading and this chunk of early Marvel history with great artwork, great stories, and not break your budget doing it. And it puts a bunch of #1 issues in your collection. Like I said, these comics are not getting any younger. None of them are ever going to, hold the value of a Spider-Man #1 or, Hulk #1. And I certainly would not lead anybody astray by telling them that. However, if I go to gocollect.com and once again, I paid so little for these books, I could sell them now and make, a considerable profit over what I paid for them. And that's going to continue to be true because people are going to discard these books. They're not going to care about them. So they're not going to be protected. They're not going to be kept safe. They're not going to be put in a bag and board. They're not going to be stored properly. So less and less will remain in high grade values. So go flipping through those dollar bins. When you see that, Chamber of Chills, Tower of Shadows, Chamber of Darkness, take a chance, spend a couple bucks, read the stories, look at the artwork, and you tell me, whether or not you thought, the $5-6 that you spent on it, if you felt misled by the Krakens Lair comics. Once again, I do want to do some videos like where I can just like run through all of these because just the covers are amazing, the artwork is amazing. I love monsters. Thank you everybody so much for watching. This is the Krakens Lair comics. This focus has been on monsters. So once again, I leave you with Godzilla, the king of monsters.